Today, my guest is Avani Patel. She's a hypnotherapist and past life regression therapist. She has a BA in psychology and a background in metaphysics and in the corporate world. About a year ago, she took a class, which happened to be my Udemy class in past life regression. And he contacted me saying, I'm trying to practice this and I'm having a little difficulty putting people in a hypnotic state. What do I do? So tell us about, so obviously you've gone from reading books to wanting to put it into practice yourself. So tell us about how you came to find my course and what led you to contact me.
Yeah, so I was just on Udemy for I don't even know why, and I saw your course, and you just make it sound so easy when you're teaching that class, So I was like, oh, okay, well, Mark makes it sound easy. Let me try it. And my first victim was my husband, so I practiced on him, and literally we practiced for 2 hours, and I just could not get him into a hypnotic state. And I emailed you in a frantic desperation of what do I do next? I can't seem to get this going. And that's when you had suggested that you had an entire package, and I could kind of learn step by step in a more effective way by going through your program.
Yep, working with the husband or the loved one is always probably one of the most difficult clients we'll ever have. So I'm not that surprised. Yes, it can be relatively easy to get things going. Of course, there's always limitations on a course like Udemy, which is kind of like reading a book. And at the end of reading a book, we don't think, oh, now I'm a certified therapist, I can do everything. And a lot of people, if they've got a lot of experience or they can get a lot out of it, but in order to take it to the next level, doing some certified therapist training is really helpful. So in that we have, you send me an email but we get into sending in intake forms. You write up all the case study and tell me exactly what's happening. We then get on mentoring calls. So we've taught, 10 times for an hour each already in the past or more. And so we've sort of, as we went through that process. So did you find that helpful? And I made it seem easy, but it's not always, it's so easy that we can get everything off just watching some videos. But how did you find that you were able to take it to the next level when we did the certification?
Yeah, I love the course and the balance of the course with the working with clients. I remember, I distinctly remember the first time you're like, no, Avani, you can start practicing. And I was like, on what? And you're like, on people. Well, how are you sure? And I had that reluctance, and you nudged me. And I'm glad you did, because I needed that extra nudge, like you knew I did all the coursework, you knew that I was prepared, and you just need a little bit of that nudge to get the confidence going. And once, you get the confidence going, you're unstoppable. Then I just couldn't stop doing sessions.
Right, that's right. No, certain people, there are certain prerequisites that people need to get onto the certification course. So it's not for everybody, but you had a lot of those prerequisites. You're a mature person who's experienced a lot of things in life. You'd read these books on spiritual things for years. You've got a background in psychology and social work. So I know you can pick it up. And just with the confidence, sometimes people think I'm not confident enough to work with, you know, friends or acquaintances or other members of my spiritual group, but I'm confident enough to work with my husband. But he's by far the hardest. The other ones are going to be much easier. You'll build confidence by breaking through that little bit of I'm slightly uncomfortable about working with them, but they'll be so much easier that once you do, I know that you'll get that momentum. And that's exactly what happened with you. And another interesting thing with you was that, we start off and we go through learning hypnosis and hypnotherapy and we build up to past life regression. But with you, you were regressing your clients back into this life. And a number of them, even in our hypnotherapy course, spontaneously went into past lives. So they really pushed you and got that momentum as well. So how did it feel to have those kind of experiences so early on?
Yeah, I think it pushed me to not be worried, and to kind of just go with the flow, right? I was prepared. I had done the coursework, and I was prepared to be able to go back and forth in between that, the age regression and the past lives, without causing any kind of disruption to our session. And again, it was that confidence from the coursework and working with you that allowed me to continue to have those sessions and not just stop because something didn't go quite as I planned.
Yeah, that's a great point because, even as I lay out the structure and here's the kind of things that can happen, and I try to do it for this, the majority of times this will happen. So that's what I have to teach. But I know in a third of the time, something completely different can happen. And when that goes down, here's how to deal with it. But you can't have an infinite stage of if that, then this, if that. So, in a static program, but you can do that with that mentoring. So that's where we got to any of those little blocks or little surprises that can stop people in their tracks and then they lose all momentum. When you've got the mentoring, they just become learning opportunities and you can just keep going forward and really amplify and exponentially grow your learning. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that you've taken from thinking I'd like to do this to starting on the course and the process you went through? So yes, we talked, one of them is the mentoring calls and then the other one is part of the community. So we'll come to that next. But so how did you find just that process of having that advanced curriculum and those advanced mentoring calls and how they are able to get you to a place where you're able to go beyond that comfort zone and work with people and get things done? So how did you find just that training process with the Past Life Awakening Institute?
I think the training process for me was exactly what I needed because it's self-paced. So you can kind of go at the speed that you want. I kind of just went all in, and for me it's like all or nothing, as I'm sure you know. So like I really took it seriously and wanted to get through the course and wanted to start the work. And I think that this course allowed me to put those meetings on your calendar when it was time, when I was done with all the sessions and it was time to meet and regroup. And being able to watch those videos, and those are self-paced as well. So this course is great because it allows people to go at their own pace. I had a full-time job, so even somebody that had a full-time job was able to do this, on my free time.
Right. Now, in addition to watching the videos, there's also quite a lot of assignments and they can run to a couple of thousand words each time. So how did you find just the assignments and the whole process of writing up case studies with your clients?
At first, it was a little tough because I wasn't used to it and I wanted to just put in every single detail possible. And so I'd write these really long summaries. And eventually, I found a format that worked best for me, and I hope it worked well for you too. And, writing it out and really writing it out as soon as the session was done is really what works for me. Because if I wait too long, I just, I maybe miss the details or any of that. And a lot of times at the beginning, I would have to record them on Zoom just so that I could type it out later. But once I started kind of learning what works for me, I realized that as soon as the session's over and I'm still kind of in that zone, type everything out.
Yeah, so it is quite a lot of work. So maybe people are watching this and thinking, I want to be like Avani, I want to get into this training. There's a warning, like prerequisites are there, and there's quite a lot of work involved. But if you do put it in and have that passion to go through that, I think it really accelerates what you can learn. So I ask people to write, details about all of the case studies or the sessions that they do. And I think by doing that, you just learn so much more in such a shorter time. So that's why you're able to have these accelerated experiences. And then, of course, your spirit guides and the universe comes in and you're just trying to do some age regression and they go off into these elaborate past lives. And so, the universe wants you to do it and believes in you and knows you're capable. So I'll give you that little push and the universe will like keep pulling you further. So I think it works out really nicely like that. And then one other feature, when people work with and do training with the Past Life Awakening Institute for the certification level, we have the community where I can match you up with appropriate people. So I know where you're at and what you're doing, and you can do session swaps. You can uh, have some practice by giving it to people who understand the process, and you can also receive. So what's it been like for you being part of that community and doing session swaps, giving and receiving with your other fellow students and graduates?
The community really provided me with a different way to kind of play, right? Because I got to learn and meet other students. And also, some of their techniques and how they do things. And maybe that's something that I want to incorporate because, I like the way they do certain things. Now I know what it's like to experience it, and I know that it's important for me to avoid it with my own clients.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And so it is nice there to have a supporting community and a chance to practice as well. So in fact, can you did you have some experiences where you recalled some of your own past lives?
And so I recalled a past life of mine as a healer, as a Native American healer.
Had you found that had been affecting you in this life, do you think?
Yeah, I up until past life recall, I did have some fear of judgment, right? Coming from the corporate world where this is really not something we talk about very often, and doing that for 20 years to this modality is completely different, and I had to shed some of those fears that were, obviously surfacing as I ended my corporate career.
So those sessions were that were given to you by your fellow students and now graduates as well. So I think that's another part of the benefit in the Past Life Awakening Institute framework. That's quite an important thing because, so that we're not triggered by any traumatic event that we may have experienced. And when our client brings it up, we get triggered and drawn into that emotion. Overall for you, you made a decision, oh, I want to hypnotize my husband, or maybe, and then it led into, okay, and now I'm ready to be a professional healer. And so overall, would you say just that choice, looking back on it, do you find it's been rewarding, and what has it meant for you overall?
I think what's been really profound for me is 7 years ago when I picked up that book, Journey of the Soul, and I read it. I never, ever thought that I would be able to do this work. I thought Michael Newton just had Dr. Newton had this special gift and only he and maybe a select few could do it. And as I've, started doing this work and the coursework and, with clients, and I've come, to really love and be passionate about this type of work, I realized that this is really something that I was called to do. There was no, coincidence that I picked up that book, 7 years ago, and it's brought me, in through this journey and all the way through to where I get to do this work that I'd only dreamt of doing 7 years ago.
For everybody that is interested in knowing more about Avni, that you can go to her website, Eternal Alchemists, and inquire about doing hypnotherapy or past life regression sessions with her online.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, everyone.